Thursday night football in Miami. Don't call it South Beach. It's South Florida. It's the Dolphins and the Bills, an AFC East divisional duel to kick off week number 2. Sports Grids. Tom Vecchio here on this Thursday for his prop perspective for TNF. Vecchio, as always, we appreciate the time here on the early line.
Thanks for having me. We are in for an exciting game tonight. Obviously, two very good teams. Solid total. I'm a little more encouraged about this over tonight, considering it's early in the season. Both teams are mostly healthy. The lack of health comes from the Dolphins side, which does point me to a few props, but I'm ready to roll.
We'll get the prop perspective in just a moment, but Vecchio, as you do so well through the numbers, what the odds expect the game to look like, the result and the flow, and what it means for the individual. So we'll start with Miami laying 2.5 at home, total at 48 and a hook. It was north of 50 earlier in the week when this line opened up to start week number 2. What are the numbers telling you about the pace of Thursday night football?
We're in for a good back and forth game, and maybe some of that health, specifically from the Dolphins running back room or lack thereof, is what's causing the total to come down. I think that we're going to see the offenses continue to iron things out. We saw Buffalo start off super slow in week 1, and second half rolls around, they get the offense firing on all cylinders. That's what I think we're in for a bit of tonight. So again, I'm encouraged by the over tonight, and I will continuously say live overs will be my favorite spot to go. If this number drops anywhere to 43 or so, I am jumping all over the live over. Back and forth game is what we should be seeing. I think we are in for, again, expanded offenses from both teams tonight.
Yeah, if we're going to get an over tonight, that means the quarterback's going to play a huge scenario. So let's just start with Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. We saw him last week in his glory. 2 touchdown passes, 2 rushing touchdown passes, banged up a little bit on his non-throwing hand. What are the expectations tonight for you with Josh Allen?
Josh Allen's going to continue to be, Superman for the Bills. Just do it all. The 244 number is, I want to say, one of the lowest marks I can remember seeing Allen's passing prop. And, maybe that has to do with a new look passing offense for the Bills. And they're trying to, figure things out where maybe it's not as heavy of a passing offense because there's no Diggs, there's no Gabe Davis. So they have to work things out. But the 244 number is something that I'm very encouraged with. And the Tua props overall, I think he's in for a huge game tonight. Again, lack of health when it comes to the Dolphins running back room, we'll dive into more. We've got to remember, Tua led the league in passing last year. So when we're missing key options from their rushing game, let's just turn it over. Let's turn the ball to Tua, and let's just let him air it out. Let's just give it to him, show what he's capable of. So a 300-plus game from Tua wouldn't shock me tonight. I'm not saying that's a bet that I love, but it certainly wouldn't shock me.
338 in the season opener as Miami needed to rally in the second half against Jacksonville. More than 4,600 through the air a season ago, leading the National Football League. Vecchio, you mentioned 300-plus wouldn't shock you, but it's not where you look. 268.5 is the number for Tua Tagovailoa. Where specifically are you targeting the lefty for the Fins?
Yeah, that's going to be with Tua over 33.5 passing attempts. We got to remember, with the lack of health from Raheem Mostert, who's already been listed out, A-Chain is listed as a game-time decision. The ball's going to be in Tua's hands. They run a high rate of plays. If we look back to last year, obviously I'm not just taking the 1-week sample size against the Jags, but a high rate of passing and a high number of plays per game should put the ball in Tua's hands. And if we do see their defense, I should say, kind of get beat up a little bit as we saw them give up some big plays to Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne and some of those deep balls to Brian Thomas from the Jaguars, that means the Bills are going to be out ahead, and that means we have to see all the passing from the Dolphins, which really should be their strong suit tonight with Tyreek and Jaylen Waddle.
We saw last week, too, it's kind of interesting. The teams going up against the Bills and the Miami Dolphins didn't have a ton of success through the air, but the expectations tonight, those should change. So if we start with the pass catchers tonight, wide receiver and tight end props, obviously we know with the Miami Dolphins, you're not really looking too much towards the tight end position. It's all with their dominant wide receivers in Tyreek Hill and also with Jaylen Waddle. And also, as you brought up already, Tom, you're looking at that Buffalo Bills, sort of a work-in-progress type offense, specifically at the wide receiver position. What are some props we're looking at from either side, Buffalo Bills pass catchers and or Miami Dolphins pass catchers?
Let's start off simple with a Waddle TD. He didn't score last week, which I love. I love being on players after they haven't scored. And this is just a simple offensive usage thing. We can essentially look back at what the Dolphins did last year and take a large portion of that moving forward into this year because it's essentially the same pass catching group. He had the second highest target share in the team last year, but at 23.4%. He was third on the team in red zone target share at 14.8. Number one was, of course, Tyreek Hill. Number two is actually Odell Beckham Jr., but we know that OBJ is out. So we're looking at Waddle as the number two option. And then on the other side, Keon Coleman, over 19.5 for the longest reception. And this might be a bit of a stretch, but I also think this is a buy low spot. Again, Gabe Davis, Steph Diggs, no longer with the Bills. Last year, Steph Diggs had a 15.4 A-dot average depth of target. Gabe Davis was at 27. They're missing those pieces. Now, MVS had a 27.5 A-dot in week one. It's just a small sample size. But if he takes over that Gabe Davis role, the intermediate role could be filled by Keon Coleman. And if that's going to be the case, that 19.5 number could move up to 20, 21.5, 22.5 when we saw Keon Coleman with 11.5 air yards per reception in week one. So this might be a buy low spot. Like, they drafted him for a reason after they traded Diggs, and they need him to fill this role. So 15-yard catch a few yards after, we hit the over easy.
A big play threat, a downfield receiver in college, first at Michigan State and then, of course, at FSU. Last week, Buffalo's leading receiver, 4 grabs on 5 targets for 51 yards. His longest reception, 28 yards, in fact, over this number. So let's flash it just so everybody sees it once again. Tom's Thursday night football props that he loves tonight. There it is. Tua Tagovailoa, over 33.5 attempts. Jaylen Waddle, anytime TD, plus 170. And Keon Coleman, in his second career NFL game, over 19.5 yards for his longest grab. Vecchio, I believe it was a plus 170 number on Xavier Worthy last week that also came through to find the end zone, plus 170 for Jaylen Waddle. Before we go to your overall outlook for Buffalo and Miami this season, I do want to ask about James Cook, somebody I am optimistic about in terms of his receiving yards prop tonight, factoring in to Buffalo's offensive scheme. He's one of the familiar faces for Josh Allen in this new look offense. How do you see James Cook's role developing in this Bills offensive game plan throughout the season?
I think he's going to be one of the most consistent betting options, not for the Bills, but overall in the league. We know, like, the chemistry that they developed last year is very solid. He's that safety net to check down to. He's going to have, I'm going to say, 19 to 24 combined touches on a game-by-game basis. And what we saw from Ken Bigsby, again, and Travis Etienne last week, one game sample size, James Cook can absolutely replicate. So over 18.5, I think it is for his reception prop. Absolutely love that. If we see Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle break off a big 60-yard touchdown, it's not going to shock anyone. The Bills are immediately going to be pushed into this passing game script. And just given the ambiguity that we have when it comes to the Bills' overall pass-catching volume, there is a huge role for James Cook to grab because, again, Keon Coleman, I think he's a great talent and has his upside, but ultimately he's still a rookie. MVS isn't as consistent. Dalton Kincaid didn't get involved in week one, so I am all aboard James Cook this year.
Amen. And also take a look at James Cook. And a lot of people on the Sports Grid Network backing Cook. I think he scores a touchdown tonight, has a decent usage rate, and away we go. Tom, before we let you go, let's take a look here at the AFC East odds because tonight, entering into the competition, plus 180 on either side to win this division. Of course, somebody's going to get a leg up if they win tonight. My question to you, the loser of tonight's game, you buying back in right away at a better price, or you just ride with the favorite?
I would absolutely buy back in at a better price. I think this is going to be a coin flip between these two teams in the division. Yep. The Jets, they're not going to win the division. Can they compete for a wild card? Sure, but the loser of this, I think they have the skill to win. And frankly, I'd be a little bit more interested if Miami loses and buying back into them than Buffalo.
For sure. Plus 180 for both co-favorites in this divisional duel. In this division entering tonight. You will see both of the gentlemen to my left on the Sports Grid airwaves this evening. TV on TV. That's what Donnie says for Tom Vecchio, getting you set for Thursday Night Football and DRS during the in-game live component. More best bets next. Thursday Night Football kicks off week number 2 of this 2024 NFL season tonight in Miami, between the Dolphins and the Bills. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. Before Donnie goes to the money line, and of course you'll see him tonight on In-Game Live. What are they calling it? NFL Football In-Game Live Game Day for you, Kevin Walsh, and Joe Lisi all together.
By the way, you want a good story about this quickly on that? You want a good story about this too? So
Always.
Kevin's mic was a little bit jacked up. So like, Donnie, we got to have you take it in. So thank goodness there was the boards behind me. So as I brought it in, I had to read the show's name just like this and then welcome the audience back in. So how do you like that? A little behind the scenes action. That's being a pro's pro right there. Use all of the technology to your advantage, people, when you're on the air. Mm-hmm.
Listen, I had no doubt that you would do that successfully and be very prepared to host the show that you are on. All right, let's dive into the numbers for Thursday Night Football. 2.5-point spread in favor of the Dolphins at home. The over-under 48.5. Donnie, from an odds perspective and just with the spread and the total telling us, this should be a highly competitive, high-scoring game tonight to start off week number 2. Should be a joy to watch if the numbers follow what we see tonight in the actual game.
Yeah, and also, like on the last primetime game we had, which was Monday Night Football, we did get some shocking news before the game, which Christian McCaffrey was not going to play. Jordan Mason was in. Oh, my goodness, how can they survive? Jordan Mason looked every bit as good as Christian McCaffrey, which is wild, and the 49ers rolled. The reason I bring that up tonight is we already have one of the running backs knocked out in Raheem Mostert, but you could get that, hey, guys, an hour and a half before the game, and actives are out. Devon Achane is not going to play in this game. Welcome into Jeff Wilson. So if you are a betting man and you think that information is correct, maybe you're going to act on those impulses here. And also, we're looking at the opening numbers here. Last week, Ben, 51.5 this total for Thursday Night Football between Buffalo and Miami at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Now we're down to 48.5. Let's see where that winds up by game time. And so astutely here, we're starting to talk about some of the weather conditions in Miami because nothing's worse than sitting on an over and getting some terrible weather. Now, also, if you're buying into that with a chance and you watch the game like it didn't rain all night and end up scoring 55-plus points, well, that's sort of the downtrodden part of that. Sometimes you're taking a guess on the weather. But if we are looking at the odds itself, Ben, minus 1.5 is the opening number, now sitting at 2.5. Let's see where that goes by game time, because I don't think they can afford to put that game at a +3. Everybody would start to bet the Buffalo Bills at that point. But we are expecting a clean game tonight. As long as the weather holds off, I do expect points, and I think this game does go over the total.
So, DRS, I want to follow up by asking, do you think the number is dropped under 50 now to 48.5 because of weather reports of some nasty weather this week in South Florida, or because maybe more influenced by our first short week Thursday Night Football game, albeit in the second week of the year?
That, too, and also Thursday Night Football games, prime time, haven't worked out all that well. And also, you're taking a look at this. These aren't two teams that don't know each other. Like, oh, we're going to be surprised. This is a division game that means a ton early in the season. And theoretically, they usually stay at a slower tempo / slower price. But I just look at the two quarterbacks and offenses in high gear early. It's hard to say, and sometimes you use it simply. On Monday Night Football, I thought both teams could approach the 20s, which is why I like the over. Well, the Jets didn't get to the 20s, but the 49ers scored much more. Do you honestly believe this game is going to be in the fourth quarter, 17-14-ish between these two ball clubs? I don't think so. If I think both of these teams can get into the 20s, therefore, how can I be betting the under and saying, I hope I get lucky in the fourth quarter? No, they should move the football.
Our local weather correspondent in Miami, Craig Mish, saying the weather is bad. I think if you see tonight, though, as the rain is supposed to ease up, the winds calm down as well, and wind a huge factor, especially for the two offenses that we will see tonight, quarterbacked by Josh Allen and Tua Tagovailoa. If it's not nearly as bad weather condition-wise by the time we get to kick tonight, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, what Vecchio mentioned, that live total, if it drops a little bit, to go back up is a great look. Let's talk those quarterback comparisons as of this moment. Josh Allen, 244 and a hook, injured his left hand, his non-throwing hand last week. There was a thought, short week, would he be ready? He will be set to go. Tua Tagovailoa, 268 and a half. He threw for 338 last week against Jacksonville in the second half comeback. DRS, as you compare the quarterbacks, which name you looking for tonight? Which props you looking at?
Yeah, I love the over 1.5 touchdowns for each one of these quarterbacks. And again, you sort of get that extra. Like Raheem Mostert's a very good red zone runner, and so is Devon Achane. If they're both banged up, which means one is already out and one could possibly be out, maybe it's just more passing attempts in the red zone, which is a great thing. And also, playing off that same sort of thing, last week my favorite bet of the week was going up against a bad defense in Arizona, was Josh Allen to throw 1.5 touchdown passes or more, and he did that. Now, he threw 2, but he also ran 2 in. A little bit more banged up. I just figure that if you're going to hand the football off, it's going to be to a running back as opposed to handing it off to yourself as a quarterback, theoretically. I like James Cook there to score an anytime touchdown, but I do think my favorite wagers are going to come from the quarterback positions. I see multiple touchdown passes tonight, and that's going to be a heavy part of my angle.
Josh Allen threw 2 in week number 1.
Yeah.
Also ran in 2 scores, 39 yards on the ground. His rushing yards prop around that price at 37.5. Tua Tagovailoa, only 1 touchdown toss to Tyreek Hill on an 80-yard play. You probably would expect some more. Again, Tua for the first 5 games last year for the NFL's leading passer in 2023 over this number of 268.5. Like you, DRS, I'm keyed in on James Cook. His receiving yards prop already on the rise from 18 and a hook to 19.5. He had 3 grabs for 32 yards. Plenty of talented offensive pieces tonight in this game on either side. For Buffalo, it's a new look offensive roster. For Miami, although the injuries to the running back room will be important to pay attention to. No Raheem Mostert, already ruled out tonight. What will Devon Achan's status be by the time we reach kick? Could we see Jeff Wilson, who had 26 yards on the ground last week? We know the same cast and crew in the wideout room. Tyreek Hill first, Jaylen Waddle second.
Yeah, and also, you take a look at the Buffalo Bills, like, are we going to see anything out of Curtis Samuel in this game? Also, we know at the FanDuel Sportsbook, we have Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle listed with their passing receiving yards. The only other pass catcher listed for the Dolphins is Jonnu Smith. Maybe they can pop up their little Braxton Berrios later today for maybe 15, 16, 20 yards receiving at this point. We have a lot of options here tonight. We're looking at a lot of points. It means a lot of fun will be had by all, BSS.
Fun to be had on this Thursday on the money line as well. DRS, enjoy it. And NFL football in-game live game day tonight alongside OK Dubs and Joe Lisi. DRS, I guess I'll talk to you on Monday. It's kind of sad. Have a great weekend, man. Talk again next week. Nature of the game.